Welcome to Famous People, English Stories. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
Imagine walking into a small coffee shop and leaving with not just a drink, but an entire experience. That's what Starbucks mastered, and it's why their green logo is recognized all over the world today. But how did a single shop in Seattle become a global empire worth billions of dollars? Today, we'll uncover the fascinating success story of Starbucks, and along the way, I'll explain key English words that make the story come alive. Starbucks wasn't always about stylish coffee cups or cozy chairs. In fact, it began as a tiny store in 1971 selling just coffee beans and equipment. Here's our first word, humble beginnings. This phrase means starting from something small and simple, not fancy or powerful. Starbucks truly had humble beginnings, no fancy lattes, no millions of customers, just a dream and a lot of hard work. Now, think about this, most of us drink coffee to wake up. But Starbucks woke up the entire coffee culture. The word culture here means the way people live, what they value, and how they spend their time. Before Starbucks, in America, coffee was often just a cheap drink at home or in a diner. After Starbucks, coffee became a lifestyle, almost a social ritual. In this video, we'll dive into how Starbucks turned coffee into a global phenomenon. That word means something so big and impressive that it attracts worldwide attention. We'll see how their ideas, choices, and vision made them different from every other cafe. And of course, as we go along, I'll help you learn useful words and expressions so your English grows while you hear this inspiring story. By the end, you won't just know about Starbucks, you'll also walk away with new vocabulary and life lessons you can apply to your own journey. So grab a cup of coffee, and let's begin this story of transformation, innovation, and ambition. Chapter 1: The Early Days of Starbucks. The story of Starbucks begins in 1971, in Seattle, Washington. Back then, it wasn't the giant coffee chain we know today. It was just a small store founded by three men, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Boker. They didn't even sell cups of coffee at first. Instead, they sold roasted coffee beans and equipment for people to brew coffee at home. That's important to remember. The Starbucks you know today looked completely different in its early years. Here's a useful phrase, to plant the seeds. It means to start something small that might grow into something much bigger. The founders of Starbucks planted the seeds of a company that would one day change the way the world thinks about coffee. But the real turning point came when Howard Schultz entered the story in 1982. At that time, Schultz joined Starbucks as the director of retail operations and marketing. This is another important word, retail. Retail means selling products directly to customers, usually in small amounts, like in shops or stores. Schultz saw something that the original founders didn't. On a trip to Italy, Schultz discovered the espresso bar culture. In Italian cities, cafes weren't just places to grab a drink, they were social spaces where people gathered, talked, and connected. Schultz was amazed. He thought, why can't Starbucks become like this in America? This moment introduces another great word, vision. A vision is not just what you see, it's the ability to imagine a different future and believe in it. Schultz had a vision for Starbucks, to transform it from a simple store selling beans into a place where people could enjoy high-quality coffee, relax, and even feel a sense of community. At first, the original founders didn't agree with Schultz's vision. They didn't want to run cafes. They wanted to stick to selling coffee beans. This shows us another useful word, resistance. Resistance means the pushback you face when you try to change something. But Schultz believed so strongly in his idea that he eventually raised money, bought Starbucks from the founders, and started turning his vision into reality. The early days of Starbucks remind us that success often starts with a small idea, a little resistance, and one person bold enough to see the future differently. Without Schultz's vision, Starbucks might have stayed just another local shop. Instead, it became the foundation for a revolution in coffee culture. Chapter 2: The Rise of Starbucks, How It Became a Global Brand. When Howard Schultz finally gained control of Starbucks in 1987, the company had only 17 stores. That number is almost unbelievable when you compare it to the thousands of stores across the globe today. But Schultz had something powerful on his side: ambition. Ambition means a strong desire to achieve success, often bigger than what others can imagine. His ambition was not just to sell coffee but to change the way people experienced it. Starbucks began opening more stores across the United States, and each store wasn't just about coffee, it was about creating what Schultz called the third place. Here's an important phrase: the third place. The first place is your home. The second place is your workplace. And the third place is somewhere in between, a comfortable, welcoming space where you can relax, meet friends, or even work on your laptop. Starbucks wanted to be that third place for everyone. Another interesting word is brand. A brand is more than just a name or a logo. It's the feeling and image people connect with a company. Starbucks built its brand carefully. The smell of freshly brewed coffee, the friendly baristas, the cozy seating, and even the music playing in the background all became part of the Starbucks identity. Customers weren't just buying a drink, they were buying an experience. By the 1990s, Starbucks was expanding rapidly. They opened stores in Chicago, New York, and eventually, internationally. Here's a useful word: expansion. Expansion means growing, adding more, and reaching wider areas. Starbucks' expansion was so fast and successful that it became a case study in business schools. But what made Starbucks different from other coffee shops? One key word: consistency. Consistency means doing something the same way every time, so customers know what to expect. Whether you walked into a Starbucks in Seattle, London, or Tokyo, you could trust that your cappuccino would taste the same. This gave Starbucks a huge advantage over small, local cafes. Of course, growth also brought challenges. Some critics said Starbucks was becoming too commercial, taking away from small, independent coffee shops. But customers kept coming, proving that Starbucks had tapped into something powerful, a mix of quality, comfort, and culture that made people feel connected. By the early 2000s, Starbucks had become more than just a coffee company, it was a global phenomenon. That phrase means something that captures worldwide attention and influence. Starbucks' green logo became a symbol recognized in nearly every major city around the world, showing how a simple idea could grow into a worldwide empire. Chapter 3, Lessons from Starbucks Success, What We Can Learn. Starbucks' journey from a tiny shop in Seattle to a worldwide empire is more than just a business story. It's full of lessons that can inspire us in life, work, and even in learning English. Let's explore these lessons step by step, while also looking at some useful words and phrases you can add to your vocabulary. The first lesson is about vision. Remember, vision is the ability to imagine a different future and believe in it. Howard Schultz didn't see Starbucks only as a place to buy beans, he saw it as a cultural movement. The lesson for us is, don't limit your imagination. Whether you're starting a project, a career, or learning English, you need a vision of where you want to go. The second lesson is innovation. Innovation means creating new ideas, methods, or products that make something better. Starbucks didn't invent coffee, but they invented a new way to experience it. For English learners, this means finding innovative ways to practice, watching movies with subtitles, recording yourself speaking, or joining conversation clubs. You don't need to reinvent the language, you just need creative ways to enjoy learning it. The third lesson is about consistency. We mentioned before that Starbucks succeeded because it delivered the same quality everywhere. For learners, consistency means studying a little bit every day rather than once in a while. Small, regular steps lead to big results, just like Starbucks grew one store at a time. The fourth lesson is about adaptation. To adapt means to change when the situation changes. Starbucks adapted its menu to different cultures: green tea lattes in Asia, dulce de leche flavors in Latin America, and so on. In the same way, you can adapt your learning to your life, listening to English podcasts while traveling, practicing grammar when writing emails, or learning vocabulary that matches your career or interests. Finally, there's resilience. Resilience means the strength to recover from difficulties. Starbucks faced criticism, economic downturns, and competition, but it kept growing. For you, resilience is key in learning English. You will make mistakes, you might feel stuck, but resilience helps you keep moving forward until fluency becomes reality. So what's the big picture? Starbucks teaches us that success is not about one lucky break, it's about vision, innovation, consistency, adaptation, and resilience. These same principles can turn your English learning journey into a success story of its own. And here's a thought to end with: every time you see the Starbucks logo, don't just think of coffee. Think of how a small idea, fueled by passion and persistence, can grow into something that touches millions of lives. Then ask yourself, what's my Starbucks story? What dream, no matter how small, can I grow if I stay consistent, resilient, and creative? Conclusion. So, what does the Starbucks story really teach us? It's not just about coffee, business, or even global expansion. At its core, it's about transformation, how an idea can grow from something small and ordinary into something extraordinary. Remember that phrase, humble beginnings? Starbucks had those. But through vision, innovation, consistency, adaptation, and resilience, it became a name known across the entire planet. Think about it, Starbucks didn't invent coffee. Coffee has been around for centuries. What they did was take something ordinary and give it extraordinary meaning. They created an experience that made people feel at home anywhere in the world. That's a powerful reminder for you as an English learner. You don't have to invent a new language. You just have to make English your own, something that connects you to people, ideas, and opportunities worldwide. Now let's reflect on the vocabulary we learned. Vision, imagining a better future. Innovation, creating new and better ways to do something. Consistency, showing up the same way every time. Adaptation, adjusting to fit new situations. Resilience, bouncing back from difficulties. These words aren't just business terms. They're life principles, and they're learning strategies. If you practice them daily, you'll see your English grow the same way Starbucks grew, step by step, store by store, word by word. And here's your challenge. The next time you walk past a Starbucks, stop and think for a moment. Ask yourself, what's my vision? How can I stay consistent? How can I be resilient in my journey? If Starbucks can go from one little shop to a global phenomenon, what can you achieve if you bring the same energy to your learning? Before we finish, I want to leave you with this: success is never instant, and neither is fluency. But with patience, persistence, and passion, you can transform your English, just like Starbucks transformed coffee. If you found this story inspiring and learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating success stories and English lessons combined. Share this video with a friend who loves coffee or is learning English too. They'll thank you for it. And leave a comment below. What's your Starbucks story? What dream are you working on that might one day become your success story? Because maybe, just maybe, the next global phenomenon starts with you.